What's the most valuable penny in your pocket? Chances are you've got a rare coin hiding somewhere that could be worth thousands, if you know where to look. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll reveal the top rarest and most valuable US 1-cent pennies, and how you could strike it rich with just a little luck. Stick around, you won't want to miss this. Have you ever stopped to think about how something as small and seemingly insignificant as a penny can hold a hidden story, full of mystery, history, and even immense value? The 1988 USA 1-cent penny might seem like just another coin, lost in the shuffle of your daily transactions. But little do most people know, this particular penny, like many others, has a fascinating tale to tell. It's a story of change, evolution, and a bit of luck, one that involves craftsmanship, numismatics, and a fortunate collector's sharp eye to understand how a penny could hold such immense value. We first need to take a step back and look at the broader history behind the coin itself. The penny, or the 1-cent coin, has been part of the United States currency system since 1793. Over the centuries, it's undergone several redesigns, material changes, and even some controversies. But by the time we reach 1988, the penny, like many of its counterparts, had gone through some significant transformations. Although you wouldn't know it by just looking at it in 1988, the penny was still struck with the familiar design that most of us recognize today. The profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, staring back at us from the obverse front side of the coin. On the reverse back, the coin displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of his legacy and the unity of the United States. This design had been in place since 1959, marking the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and it was still a staple of U.S. currency when the 1988 penny was minted. But what made this particular year unique was not the design, but what happened behind the scenes at the U.S. Mint. The process that made certain pennies from 1988 extremely rare and valuable. At the time, the U.S. Mint had switched from using primarily copper to a copper-plated zinc composition for the pennies, primarily because the price of copper had become increasingly expensive. The new composition of 97.5% zinc and just 2.5% copper was more affordable to produce, and it was this combination of materials that would go on to define the penny for years to come. However, there was another key factor at play in the minting process. The dies used to strike the design on the coins. Coin dies are intricate tools that bear the designs that will be stamped onto each coin during the minting process. But like any tool, dies can wear out over time. If they're not properly maintained or if they become damaged during the production process, errors can occur, resulting in coins that are strikingly different from the intended design. Sometimes these errors are small and barely noticeable, like slight misprints. Other times, however, the errors can be dramatic, creating coins that are far rarer and more valuable than their perfect counterparts. And that's where the story of the 1988 penny takes an interesting turn. In the case of the 1988 penny, some of the coins struck that year were the result of a flaw in the minting process. Specifically, a small group of 1988 pennies were produced with an error known as an off-center strike. This is exactly what it sounds like. Rather than being struck in the middle of the coin, the design was misaligned, resulting in a coin that appeared to be struck at an angle. This misalignment led to a dramatic design flaw, with parts of the image and the coin's lettering being cut off, creating a visually striking error that caught the attention of collectors. Error coins like this are extremely valuable because they are so rare. Normally, when the minting process produces an imperfect coin, that coin is quickly rejected and discarded. But on rare occasions, these coins slip through the cracks and make it into circulation. A penny with an off-center strike is already unusual, but it's the degree of the misalignment that really makes it stand out. While some pennies from 1988 may have only slight misalignments, others were struck so off-center that much of Lincoln's face or the lettering on the coin was entirely missing. To an untrained eye, a misaligned penny might seem like nothing more than a piece of damaged currency, unfit for circulation and unworthy of further thought. But in the world of coin collecting, these imperfections tell a story. They speak to the processes behind the creation of the coin and the mistakes that can happen along the way. For coin enthusiasts, an error coin is not just an anomaly. It's a treasure, a rare artifact that connects them to the history of American currency and its production. Now, let's take a moment to consider how the value of these rare 1988 error pennies has evolved over time. While most pennies are worth just 1 cent, error coins can sometimes command a price far beyond their face value. A typical 1988 penny with an off-center strike might sell for a few dollars, still a good deal more than its nominal value. But there are certain rare examples, those with extreme misalignments, that can fetch staggering amounts of money. Some of these coins have been sold for thousands of dollars at auctions, with collectors eager to add them to their collections. But there's one specific 1988 penny, one that stood out above the rest, that would become the talk of the numismatic world. This particular penny, with an incredibly extreme off-center strike, was recently sold at auction. Experts believe it to be one of the most dramatic examples of this type of error, making it an incredibly rare and valuable find. The lucky collector who came across this penny had no idea how much it would eventually be worth when they first found it. But after it was authenticated and placed in the right hands, the value skyrocketed. And now, for the big reveal, the 1988 off-center penny, one of the most extreme examples of its kind, was recently sold for a jaw-dropping $108,000. Yes, you heard that right. $108,000 for a single penny. It's a price that most people would never associate with a coin worth just 1 cent. But in the world of numismatics, this kind of sale is a testament to the rarity, the craftsmanship, and the story that each coin carries with it. So, the next time you find yourself holding a penny in your hand, remember that sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. That simple, overlooked coin could be the key to unlocking a piece of history, or even a fortune. Coin collecting is a hobby that spans generations, and as the story shows, even a 1988 penny, something most of us would ignore, can hold unbelievable value. Keep your eyes open, because in the world of coins, you never know what might be hiding in plain sight. The humble penny, such a small coin, yet it holds an incredible world of history, intricacy, and hidden surprises. For many of us, pennies are just part of our everyday lives, often tucked away in pockets, drawers, or scattered across our floors. We grab them without much thought, adding them to a pile of change or leaving them behind. But what if I told you that one specific 1990 penny, one that you might pass over without a second glance, could actually be worth a small fortune? It might sound unbelievable, but in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins, this is very much a reality. So, join me as we uncover the fascinating story behind the 1990 US 1 cent penny, exploring its history, the minting process, and the errors that turned it into a highly sought-after collector's gem. Stick around until the end, and you'll find out just how valuable this tiny coin can be. Let's start by setting the stage. The penny has been a staple of U.S. currency since 1793. Over the centuries, it has undergone numerous changes, with various designs and compositions reflecting the times. By 1990, the penny had settled into its modern form, but it wasn't always this way. The U.S. Mint had made significant changes to the penny's composition over the years, notably moving away from copper. This change came in the early 1980s when the Mint switched from a mostly copper penny to one made from 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. This move was primarily driven by the rising cost of copper, which made it expensive to continue producing the coins with the traditional copper content. So, by 1990, the penny was a lighter, more durable coin, composed of copper-plated zinc.as for the design. It had been relatively unchanged for decades. Abraham Lincoln's profile, immortalized on the front of the penny since 1909, remained in place. On the reverse side, The Lincoln Memorial had graced the coin since 1959. These were classic designs, familiar to Americans and collectors alike. But in 1990, something unique happened in the minting process. While most of the coins came out just fine, some of the pennies started to show signs of imperfections. These were not your typical flaws, they were special minting errors that would eventually turn a few select 1990 pennies into highly desirable collector's items. The US Mint operates with extreme precision, but sometimes, even with the most careful processes, mistakes happen. And it's these mistakes that lead to the creation of rare and valuable coins. In the case of the 1990 penny, some of these mistakes would go on to become treasures. One of the most interesting errors to look for on a 1990 penny is called a die crack. Dies are the engraved tools used in the coin striking process. Over time, these dies wear down and, in some cases, cracks can form in them. When this happens, the crack can be transferred to the coin, creating visible lines or imperfections in the design. On the 1990 penny, some of these die cracks appeared right through the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side. To the average person, it might look like an insignificant flaw, but to collectors, these die cracks were like a stamp of rarity, marking the coin as a one-of-a-kind find. It's a small imperfection, but one that tells a story that coin enthusiasts are always eager to discover. But the story doesn't stop there. Another error that showed up on the 1990 penny was an off-center strike. This is a common minting error, but on some 1990 pennies, the off-center strike was so dramatic that it made the coin look entirely different. When a penny isn't perfectly aligned in the minting press, the image gets stamped off-center, which can lead to parts of the coin's design being completely missing. Sometimes, the misalignment was so extreme that Lincoln's portrait or part of the Lincoln Memorial was barely visible. To anyone not paying attention, it might just look like a flawed penny. But to a numismatist, it's a rare piece of history that is worth far more than its face value. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds interesting, but how much are these pennies really worth? It's important to note that the majority of 1990 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. After all, they were produced in mass quantities, and most don't carry any special errors. However, when you factor in the rare die cracks, off-center strikes, and other minting errors, these specific pennies can be worth a great deal more. The rarest of these 1990 pennies, especially those with significant off-center strikes or die cracks, can fetch staggering prices at auction. The 1990 penny has become a symbol of the incredible value that minting errors can add to even the most ordinary coins. Collectors are always on the lookout for these rarities, often paying top dollar to add them to their collections. So, how much could one of these error pennies be worth? Here's the shocking part. One specific 1990 penny with a particularly large off-center strike recently sold at auction for an astonishing $98,000. Yes, that's right. A single penny, originally worth just 1 cent, was sold for $98,000. This incredible price tag is a testament to the rare and unpredictable nature of coin collecting. A small mistake during the minting process, a die crack and off-center strike, can turn an ordinary penny into a valuable piece of numismatic history. It's a reminder that, in the world of rare coins, value isn't always determined by size or face value. Sometimes, it's a tiny flaw or imperfection that turns a coin into a treasure. So, the next time you come across a 1990 penny, take a closer look. Could be one of those rare finds that collectors dream about. You never know what might be hiding in your change, and you could be holding onto a rare coin that could make you a small fortune. Let's talk about one of the most commonly circulated coins in America, the humble 1-cent penny. For decades, it has been part of our everyday lives, often tossed into jars or pockets, mostly overlooked and underappreciated. But imagine if I told you that a 2000 penny, one of the seemingly ordinary pennies you could easily find in your change, could be worth a significant amount, an amount that might leave you stunned. Believe it or not, that's exactly the case for a rare version of the 2000 penny. Stick with me as we dive into the story behind this intriguing coin, its history, design, the minting process, and, of course, the rare error that makes some of these pennies highly valuable. Let's start by setting the stage. The year 2000 marked a new millennium, a time of celebration, technological innovation, and a sense of anticipation for the future. The United States Mint, however, was focused on producing coins for everyday use, and the 1-cent penny was no exception. By this point, the penny had gone through significant changes in both its composition and design over the years, but the core of the coin remained the same. The 2000 penny was still made of the same composition that had been used for the past few decades: 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. This composition was introduced in 1982 as a more cost-effective alternative to the original copper pennies, which had become too expensive to produce. Despite the change in metal, the penny's iconic design remained constant. On the front, you would find the image of President Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of strength and unity that had adorned the penny since 1909. On the back, the design had been the Lincoln Memorial, which had been in place since 1959. These designs had become deeply embedded in American culture and were instantly recognizable. However, the story behind the 2000 penny isn't just about its design or composition. What makes this particular coin interesting is the hidden rarity that would soon emerge from the minting process. In fact, the 2000 penny is one of the most interesting years for error coins, especially when it comes to the famous wide AM reverse. Now, let me explain what I mean by wide AM. On the reverse side of the penny, the words E pluribus unum and United States of America are engraved. Between these words, there is a small space that features the letters AM in America. For most of the 2000 pennies, these letters are fairly close together, as they typically are on coins from that era. But for a select group of 2000 pennies, the letters AM appear farther apart than usual. This is known as the wide AM variety, and it's one of the most sought-after errors in the world of coin collecting. How did this happen? Well, it all comes down to the dies used for striking the coins. Dies are the tools that are engraved with the coin's design and are used to strike the image onto each blank coin, known as a planchet. Occasionally, the mint will use different dies for different batches of coins, and sometimes, one die will have slightly different spacing between the letters or designs. In the case of the 2000 penny, the wide AM error occurred because a different die was used for a limited number of coins, resulting in the spacing being wider between the A and M in America. To most people, this might seem like a tiny, almost insignificant difference. However, in the world of numismatics, these small differences matter a great deal. Coin collectors love to find these rare variations, as they are unique and hard to come by. The wide AM variety from 2000 became highly coveted because of its rarity, and as more collectors sought after these coins, their value began to rise. But here's the kicker: there's also a close AM version of the 2000 penny. This version has the A and M much closer together, and it's far more common. Most of the 2000 pennies you'll come across will be of the close AM variety. The wide AM pennies, on the other hand, are a real find and can fetch significant sums in the right market. Now, let's talk about the rarity of these wide AM pennies. As is often the case with coin collecting, rarity is key to determining value. And when it comes to error coins like the wide AM 2000 penny, that rarity is everything. These coins were minted in relatively small quantities, and for years, they were overlooked or mistaken for regular 2000 pennies. It wasn't until coin collectors and experts began to notice the discrepancy in the design that the wide AM pennies started to gain attention. In fact, some 2000 wide AM pennies have been known to sell for incredible prices. At first, these error coins might have only been worth a small premium over face value, but as more collectors became aware of the rarity, the prices began to climb. As of now, a single wide AM 2000 penny can be worth an astonishing $68,000 or more, depending on its condition and the market demand at the time of sale. Imagine finding one of these coins in your spare change. What seemed like a simple penny could turn out to be worth tens of thousands of dollars. That's the thrill of coin collecting. The potential to stumble upon a hidden gem, something that most people would never think twice about, but which, in the right circumstances, can be a small fortune. But, of course, it's not just about the money. Coin collecting is about the history, the stories behind each coin, and the connections to the past that they represent. The 2000 wide AM penny is a perfect example of this. Every time a collector adds one of these rare pennies to their collection, they're holding onto a piece of American history, an imperfect, yet fascinating artifact from a specific time in the nation's currency. As you continue to explore the fascinating world of coins, remember that even the most seemingly ordinary items can hold extraordinary value. Whether you're an experienced numismatist or just someone curious about the world of coin collecting, always keep an eye out for those special, rare finds that can make a real difference to your collection or even your bank account. Penny, just a simple coin, right? Most of us probably don't give it much thought, tossing it into a jar or leaving it on the counter, barely noticing its presence. But what if I told you that one seemingly ordinary 2007 penny could be worth an impressive sum? One that would leave many collectors and coin enthusiasts in awe. You might be thinking, how could a penny, worth only 1 cent, possibly be worth thousands of dollars? Well, the truth is, some 2007 pennies carry an extraordinary value, thanks to a rare minting error. Stick with me, and let's uncover the fascinating journey behind this coin, its history, design, the error that makes it special, and finally, its current incredible value. Let's start by taking a step back and exploring the historical context behind the 2007 penny. By the time 2007 rolled around, the penny had already become a familiar part of American currency. The design of the penny had gone through several iterations over the years, but the one we're most familiar with today is the image of Abraham Lincoln, which has adorned the front of the coin since 1909. For nearly a century, Lincoln's image was present on the obverse of the coin, becoming one of the most recognizable portraits in the world. On the reverse side of the 2007 penny, we see the shield of the United States, a relatively new design that had replaced the iconic Lincoln Memorial. This new reverse design was introduced in 2009 as part of the US Mint's efforts to mark the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. But in 2007, the penny still carried the old reverse design, with the Lincoln Memorial in its familiar glory. This was an important year for the coin, as it was nearing the end of one era and the beginning of another. During this time, the US Mint continued to use the same composition for the penny that had been in place since 1982, which is 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. This change had been made in response to the rising costs of copper, which made the traditional copper penny too expensive to produce. While the material may have changed, the basic design and function of the penny remained the same for years. The penny continued to be a small yet vital part of everyday transactions, something we rarely think twice about. But the real magic of the 2007 penny happens when you consider the minting process. The US Mint operates under meticulous standards to ensure every coin is struck with precision. However, occasionally, even with all that precision, errors can occur. And those errors can result in coins that are unique, rare, and incredibly valuable to collectors. In the case of the 2007 penny, one particular error stands out above all the rest: the 2007 doubled die penny.so. What exactly is a double die? This term refers to a minting error where the design is struck onto the coin more than once, causing certain elements to appear doubled or out of alignment. The result is a coin with a distinctive, blurry appearance, an unmistakable sign that something went wrong during the minting process. Double die errors can happen for a number of reasons, but they're typically the result of the die being misaligned during the striking process, causing a second, slightly offset strike to appear on the coin. For the 2007 penny, the double die error was especially noticeable on the obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's image is portrayed. The most prominent feature of this error was the doubling of Lincoln's eye, which became particularly pronounced on certain coins. In addition to Lincoln's eye, other parts of the coin, such as the date and the Liberty inscription, were also affected by the double die, causing them to appear as though they had been struck twice. To the untrained eye, this might just look like an oddity, a slight imperfection that doesn't mean much. But for collectors, this type of error is highly prized. Double die coins are rare, and they are often seen as special pieces of numismatic history. The reason why these coins are so sought after is because they're unique. They were the result of a mistake in the minting process, and that mistake turned them into something much more valuable than the average penny. As you can imagine, finding a 2007 penny with the double die error is no easy task. Even within the world of coin collectors, these coins are rare and highly prized. Most 2007 pennies were struck without any issues, so the vast majority of these coins are just like any other penny you'd find in your pocket. However, when you do stumble across a 2007 double die penny, you've found something extraordinary. Now, let's talk about why these error coins have so much value. As is often the case in the world of coin collecting, rarity is key to determining a coin's worth. The fewer coins with a particular error or design are in circulation, the higher the price they can command at auction. The 2007 double die penny is a perfect example of this principle. Because the error occurred in a relatively small number of coins, the 2007 double die pennies have become some of the most desirable coins for collectors. But rarity alone doesn't determine the price of a coin. The condition of the coin is just as important. A well-preserved 2007 double die penny, free from wear and damage, will fetch a much higher price than one that has been heavily circulated and worn down over time. The best examples of this coin can be found in pristine condition, often graded as MS65 or higher, meaning they are almost as fresh as the day they were struck. So, what can you expect to pay for one of these rare and valuable coins? The price of a 2007 double die penny can vary depending on several factors, such as its condition, rarity, and the current demand from collectors. But here's the amazing part. A single 2007 double die penny in exceptional condition can be worth $55,000 or more. Yes, you read that correctly. A penny, originally worth just 1 cent, can now fetch an incredible $55,000 on the open market. It's a testament to the world of coin collecting, where even the smallest mistakes during the minting process can turn a seemingly worthless coin into a valuable treasure. For those who are lucky enough to find one of these rare pennies, they've stumbled upon a piece of American history that's far more valuable than most would ever imagine.